This is the section here with the requirements. This is just part of every loan process, and there's no way around them. They just got to go through them. And first thing is, once that second, like Joe said, the next deposit will be due. These deposits are coming to the bank because they're going to pay for these third-party costs of the loan. So the first cost will be for the third-party valuation, and this is something we generally know. You know what you're going to expect it to be. We have a sense of where we think it's going to be, and quite frankly, the lenders, they do, as part of their their underwriting and their approval process, they know where they think the value of the business is coming in as well. So there shouldn't be any surprises here. Guess what? Every process can, again, have its challenges, and sometimes evaluation does come in lower than expected. So we'll talk about that later. But the what's important about the third-party valuation is this is where it's a third party. It's not the bank taking a long time. It's not the borrower. It's not the seller. It's just a third party. They're usually pretty efficient. So, and they'll set an expectation. And quite frankly, the bank will provide bids sometimes where you can pay X dollars for a 7-day evaluation, 7 days with a little bit higher premium, or just have a normal 10-day valuation at X price. So that's, again, a nice feature. If the borrower is willing to pay extra to expedite, they sometimes have that option, which is nice. The next requirement is if a loan is not collateralized, there is going to be a life insurance component. So the life insurance is on the borrower, on the guarantor. If there are multiple guarantors, it's the guarantors. And what's important about that is we usually know that, or we do know that early in the process. This is not something we wait for a loan approval to start this process, because this is a whole other timeline. It can take months. And again, we'll talk about the timeline later, but this is something we know is coming if a loan is not fully collateralized. And we'll work with the borrower and encourage them to reach out to certain insurance brokers are very aware of, like the an SBA loan timeline. And there are certain life insurance brokers that can line up their the bids and the actual policies so that they're available in time and will not hold up the closing. And so we like to bring that up as early as possible, but this is where they need to see actual insurance certificates and the actual details of the life insurance policy that will be assigned. Another note is that usually we encourage borrowers, a lot of borrowers come to us and already have a life insurance policy. We encourage them to take out a new policy for these loans rather than assigning other policies that might be intact currently for either, heaven forbid, like a worst case scenarios or estate planning purposes or whatnot. We like them to have a loan just for this so that it doesn't impact, we like them to have a policy just for the loan so it doesn't impact any of their planning for their family or loved ones. This just takes care of making the bank whole. Another part of this is tax verification. This usually is a very seamless process. It's just a matter of completing signing a form that goes back to the IRS. Again, there's sometimes problems with this. Sometimes the bank types up the tax verification and instead of writing out street, just writes ST. That, believe it or not, an odd space or an odd period in an address will make the tax verification bounce back. So again, it's something, and this is why the bank underwrites to taxes and not internal documents. They are getting all of their support and protecting themselves by getting any financials verified by the IRS. So that's part of that process. And then the last part, and again, this also comes back in terms of timeline and some challenges, but this is also where the asset purchase agreement gets finalized. And everyone makes sure from a legal perspective, both parties are signing off and all the language is as everyone had intended. And it does take some back and forth and some legal review. This is not a quick process, but this is where everyone is making sure the agreement is documented as the LOI had outlined, but it's finalized here in the asset purchase agreement.